And joining me now to discuss the potential of peace in the 3-year-old Russia-Ukraine conflict is Atul Anja, foreign affairs expert. Welcome, sir. So why have both Russia and Ukraine stepped up attacks on each other's territories immediately prior to the second round of peace talks in Istanbul?
You see, what happens is that before any talks take place among adversaries, you got to show you have strong domestic audiences to appeal to. And, you want to appear to go for negotiations from a position of strength. And I think the Ukrainians, being relatively a weaker power than Russia, were more sort of driven to change, or at least do a spectacle which would change perceptions, which will change optics. I think that's what really happened. And I think they did it quite brilliantly yesterday by attacking deep inside Russian territory with drones and whatever reports are coming in. It also had a telling effect on the Russian bombers and other equipment which were used on strikes in Ukraine. So I can understand the Ukrainian motivation, and then the retaliation comes from the Russian side. But to be honest, at the end of the day, despite what has happened, it really hasn't changed the situation on the battlefront. And over there, you can see the Russians have made tangible gains on the ground, and they are closer towards Sumy, as was in your report a while ago. So I don't think that's really changing the dynamics on the ground, though it has been somewhat, on optics point of view, the Russian image has taken a hit, but it's not so much as to alter the real play or the balance of forces on the ground itself.
Okay. Now, what terms is Ukraine likely to set for a peace deal? It's been 3 years of the war. Is there going to be any Ukraine going on the back foot now? Do you think that is a possibility?
Well, it eventually, I think what Trump had told about Ukraine, that you don't have the cards, I think that's something which remains despite the spectacular attack which took place yesterday. So frankly, I don't see, Ukraine has to minimize its losses. It can't be status quo, it can't be its maximalist demands. So I think that we are not still there at a compromise where Donetsk area or Donbas region would be essentially with the Russians. The Russians would also want the Black Sea coastline, a part of that, Mariupol and places somewhere closer to that, under their firm control as a part of the peace deal. And they would also want that there are no missiles placed in Ukraine which can threaten Russia in the future. And they also want the denazification campaign, denazification of the territory, which means the Azov battalions have to be dismantled. So these are now both sides are sort of going ahead with their maximalist claims. We are yet to have the real negotiations on these issues. What we had earlier was on the release of prisoners on humanitarian side. But I think what is important now is the good thing is that talks are still going on after what has happened in the last 2 days, that they have not broken off. That's a good sign. But the second thing is, I think it's going to take a while before you actually do the talking on territory and other demands. And honestly, I think there's some more ground battles ahead before we come to a situation where either side is willing to compromise. So it's a very interesting dynamic that you have talks and conflict together. It's not ceasefire and talks. So you're going to have both on two planes going simultaneously in this theater.
So President Trump was very vocal about his criticism of Vladimir Putin for the very same reason that the attacks are continuing, talks are also continuing. So do you see a situation where President Trump is going to lose his patience and going to back out from these peace talks?
Well, I think frankly, they are not directly involved right now. I think that particular phase has started. And I do think that there is an understanding between President Putin and President Trump that, look, we were not going to directly interfere right now on the ground. So you guys do what you want to do. And once you have done what you have to do, then we will be back into the equation. I think that's a pause which the Americans have taken right now. But the danger in this is that from American perspective, they would want to wrap up this military dynamic as quickly as possible so that they can get back into the negotiating fray. And the Russians are, frankly, it's not that the Ukrainians will roll over as swiftly as Trump would want. So there's going to be a time when Trump is going to feel uncomfortable, I think, about, and that's where your point comes in. Will he get impatient? And if he does get impatient, what are his options? Will that mean, again, a much bigger support, military support coming from the Americans to the Ukrainians as was before? I doubt that would happen. But there would be pressure on Trump if this doesn't wrap up quickly to consider options again, which may not necessarily suit the Russians. But having said that, I think there are a lot of things happening behind the scenes, and especially that lengthy conversation between President Trump and President Putin there was much more to it than what has been reported in the media.
Okay, finally, the most significant outcome of the first round of talks in Istanbul were the prisoner and civilian swap, 1,000 in number from each side. Do you see a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia as a likely outcome of the peace talks this time, or not yet?
Not yet, not yet. We're not still reached that stage, and I think this is going to be protracted negotiations. Again, with optics, with our attacks, which took place yesterday, and the Russian retaliation. I think that's going to be the play. The dual plane, as we spoke earlier, is going to take place. We are not there at a decisive moment of a deal as of now. And that's where we have to watch out what's happening on the battlefield as intently as to get clues on which side would blink first.
Okay, do you think Russia has achieved its objectives in this conflict so far, or is there more damage yet to be done?
Not yet, not yet. I don't think the minimum Russian demands have been met as yet, and that would be really the Donbas area that has to come with ethnic Russian population. Those have to be there, and the Black Sea access. I think these are going to be. And third demand, it can't be demilitarization of Ukraine, but you can't have deployment of missiles or Ukraine's membership in the NATO at any time. That would be a complete red line. So I think those demands are yet to be met, and we'll see how it goes. But
still
negotiations and conflict together.
Yes, well, still a lot to look forward to in these peace talks. At least they're happening. Thank you very much, Atul Anja ji, for joining us on DD India News.
You're very welcome. Thank you.